Today is Wednesday, November 13. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. Government is set to spend more than $1 billion over the next 3 months on enhancing vector control initiatives amid the current dengue outbreak on the island. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton made the announcement in Parliament Tuesday afternoon.
Mr. Speaker, given the intensity of this dengue outbreak, I have sought and received Cabinet's approval to enhance our intervention over the next 3 to 6 months. This intervention, Mr. Speaker, will see the allocation of some 1 billion Jamaican dollars expenditure over the next 3 months to enhance the existing program that is taking place.
He indicated that the vector control program will be extended to at least 6 months after the outbreak has been declared at an end. The minister also provided a breakdown for how the monies will be allocated.
In terms of the allocation of the budget, this $1 billion budget for enhanced vector control, some 469,947,000 will go to support the procurement of vehicles and the mounted foggers, procurement of insecticide or flushing solution, tablets for water treatment, and to support the additional engagement of vector control workers. Some 302,555,000 will support solid waste removal, which will involve both the National Solid Waste as well as the National Works Agency, particularly for major canals which require heavy equipment, but also to remove the rubble.
Dr. Tufton said there have been 61 confirmed dengue-related deaths since 2018, 44 of which were in 2019 alone. The minister further noted that the age group with the largest number of deaths was the 5 to 14-year-old cohort. The minister also renewed appeals for Jamaicans to partner with the government by taking action, including searching their surroundings for mosquito breeding sites in and around the home, and to visit their doctor and health center as much as necessary. Consumers will continue to experience some challenges with their telecommunication services. That's the word from Portfolio Minister Favour Williams. For weeks, telecommunications customers have complained bitterly about bad service. The minister addressed the complaints in Parliament on Tuesday.
These complaints range from dropped calls in the middle of conversations, which require the parties to try to reconnect. In the process, we lose valuable time and train of thought in the various conversations, from having to redial a call several times before the call goes through. Often as well, there's the inability to hear the other person on the other end, and sometimes for them to hear us. Customers have complained of frequent interference on the line and a host of other issues.
Minister Williams also outlined the challenges facing the local telecoms industry.
It is clear, after my conversations with the OUR and reading their press release, and after meeting with the telecom providers, the issues faced by operators can be distilled into 3 buckets. Number 1, investments in modernizing networks have not been fast enough to keep a pace with the growing bandwidth demand of consumers and applications, and thus today's infrastructure is inadequate for the country's needs. Number 2, high dependency on a single fixed infrastructure that provides little redundancies due to a lack of alternatives in the market, leaving networks susceptible to all kinds of hazards and risks. And number 3, Mr. Speaker, the significant issue of the rising incidences of theft and vandalism of network equipment, for which there is a need for much stiffer penalties in order to give the telecom providers a fighting chance at maintaining resilience in their network.
She also said after consultations with providers, Flow and Digicel, during consultations they indicated that they were making improvements and customers should begin to see better service, but a timeline was not given. Minister Williams was responding to questions from the opposition following responses to previous questions from Shadow Spokesperson on Technology, Julian Robinson. Another group of workers at the University of Technology, UTECH, is now restive. This time it is technical employees. The workers are reportedly upset about an outstanding reclassification exercise. They are represented by the University and Allied Workers Union. Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Olivia Grange, has been elected Vice President of the 40th session of the UNESCO General Conference, which is on the way in Paris, France. The General Conference, which happens every 2 years, brings together 193 members of UNESCO to decide on the policies and work of the organization. Grange was elected vice president in her absence. She will leave Jamaica this week to participate in the conference as well as the meeting of the powerful UNESCO Executive Board. The 58-member board is responsible for the overall management of UNESCO. Jamaica is serving the board on a 4-year term, which will end in 2021. Her election follows her just concluded successful 2-year term as chair of the UNESCO Committee on Conventions and Recommendations and her recent re-election as vice chair of the Culture Committee of the Organization of American States. While in Paris, the minister will also serve as a panelist at a high-level meeting of ministers of culture. The United States ambassador to Jamaica, Donald Tapia, has disclosed that authorities in that country are getting ready to ramp up scrutiny of cargo containers, one of the main channels used by criminal networks to supply their cronies here with guns and ammunition. Since the start of the year, a total of 1,133 persons have been murdered across the island, including 62 in the past 2 weeks. According to the latest Jamaica Constabulary Force Serious and Violent Crime Review. Up to 2016, the U.S. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives conducted traces on 1,509 illegal guns seized on the streets of Jamaica and found that nearly 65% were either manufactured in the U.S. or illegally imported here. And now we'll hear what's on the minds of Jamaicans today with our reporter, Tian Dowlett.
Good and bad. Well, we all need good road, yes, and new things, new upliftment things, place to build up and fix up. But it has stopped certain people business, so it's good and bad. When them done, when them finish, it go bring good things and it look good, yes, but if you know, it do bad.
Well, yes and no. Because it creates havoc and it is, in a sense, it's good and it's bad. Because if trying to get to work early, you have to get up like from about 5 or 4 just to beat the traffic, to reach a working time. And then another thing, he could start like do some road work, like probably with less traffic, and then take it to the next part, which would be better.
No, I don't think it's a good idea. Meaning the place is too congested with the traffic, with the dust. The disabled, the blind are in problems getting aid to cross the street or cross the road. Just the other day, I hear a lady make a complaint on the TV that they dump some dirt high above a home and children are playing it and tumble on the dirt. So too many rats can't dig a good hole. If the road is to be fixed one at a time, you can't be having it east, west, north and south at the same time.
No, I don't really think it's a smart move because it's got so much congestion and confusion on the roads, because you go in some places and it takes you hours and minutes to reach, and then one is not complete and then you start the next one, and then the next one is not complete and you start and the next one again. It's so hard. And then yes, we need the roads, but some people are suffering from the most necessary commodity, water. People don't have water for days, months now, and that is bad. And those people are paying water rate, and that is very bad. So I don't think doing so many roads at once makes any sense to me. But as it is what it is, the government is doing what it thinks is best. So I guess we just have to live with it.
The US dollar is now being traded at Jamaican $142.23, up by 27 cents. That's according to the Bank of Jamaica's daily foreign exchange trading summary. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $107.68, up from $106.46, while the British pound sterling ended trading at $181.92, down from $182.35. In regional news, a crisis of will. That's how Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley describes the seemingly inability of the region to fully integrate in trade and other economic sectors.
The issue of will to be able to be faithful to the precepts agreed to internationally and to flesh them out, will to be able to reflect in our actions the moral leadership that is absolutely critical if we are to carry along not just the members of our population in the context of inclusive and sustainable growth, but our stakeholder partners as we move. And an appreciation that many of the things that the region faces now to deepen the integration movement are not immediately within our grasp, because we have to be spending money on other things.
Prime Minister Mottley was speaking at the recent Caribbean Forum held in her country. She said the sustainable and inclusive growth will enable people to develop positively. According to Ms. Mottley, the route of development is through deepened and affordable communication throughout the region.
And invariably, if you pick up this phone and I go to do certain things, it comes up as Jamaica. Why? Because the switch from which it is operating is not located in Barbados. And if it is not located in Barbados, why am I paying roaming charges when I go to Jamaica, when I'm in Jamaica? Because at the end of the day, governments don't trade. It is people through companies and households that do so.
The issue of economic integration is the pillar on which the Caribbean community, CARICOM, stands, and it is the vision behind CARICOM's work towards a Caribbean single market and economy, CSME. With the International Monetary Fund now working as financial mentors with several countries in the region, the issue of Caribbean integration as a tool for global trade was raised at the recent publication press briefing of the IMF's Regional Economic Outlook.
Do you think the successful implementation of the CSME would help the economic outlook of the region?
Yes, absolutely. So actually we've done some recent work on integration in the Caribbean, including some quantitative work, and what we found there was that a more successful integration effort in the Caribbean could help significantly with boosting growth levels in the Caribbean region. So the answer is yes, it's definitely something worth pursuing.
Jamaica's Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clark, who was also present in Barbados for the Caribbean Forum last week, shared his take in the voiced urge for speedier regional integration in trade.
There's no doubt that there is a huge scope of opportunity in deepening regional integration in the economic space. It is far too costly to do business in our region with laws and regulations that change from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. We do ourselves no favor when we artificially restrict our markets to our national market. As a market of 6 million people, that would provide an opportunity for companies to grow beyond their current sizes, but to do so, they have to be able to access the markets in CARICOM without friction. And there are, barriers that are obvious, and then there are barriers that are invisible. And there are a number of invisible barriers to trade in the Caribbean. The fact that goods once registered or passing regulatory hurdles in one country have to repeat the process in all 13 countries is an inhibitor to growth. The fact that we have regulations that differ from country to country is an inhibitor to growth. So there are a number of low-hanging fruits, and we have to have the resolve to allocate the resources to ensure that we have the technical ability and that we allocate the space to focus on these low-hanging fruit and to convert conviction into action.
As Dominicans prepare to go to the polls on December 6th, the Electoral Office has confirmed that an online voters list circulating on social media is fake. This was confirmed by Public Relations Officer Elias Dupius.
This tainted list is in no way affiliated with the Electoral Office or any of its systems or processes. The public is reminded that physical copies of the Register of Electors produced by the Electoral Office for publication or for sale are the only legitimate source of elector information available in the Commonwealth of Dominica. The Electoral Office of Dominica, under the direction of the Chief Elections Officer, is the only entity empowered by the Registration of Electors Act to collect, guard, and produce elector information, and the production and publishing of these lists is done multiple times per year. As required by law, lists are created periodically and published in each polling district in Dominica and are also made available at the homes of registering and assistant registering officers, at the public library, and at the Electoral Office.
Chairman of Guyana's Electoral Commission, GCOM, has sought to give the assurance that voters without IDs will not be prevented from voting in the March 2020 elections. We have more in this report.
This is the procedure being utilized to cleanse the list. We want these names now to be, we just want to verify the existence of these people. They should come forward and say, well, I'm alive.
Justice Singh said the names will be placed on a supplemental list at the polling stations, which will cause those persons to receive added scrutiny.
So it is not GCOM's intention to disenfranchise anyone. And this exercise is not a witch hunting exercise, as is being rumored.
GCOM chairman said the form of verification is provided for in the National Registration Act amended in 2005. Asked why this method was not used previously, Justice Singh said it is added scrutiny in light of the truncated house-to-house exercise which was being done to create a national register of registrants.
We are in unusual circumstances following the passing of the NCM last year in 2018. Now, had circumstances been normal, what would have happened? The house-to-house would have gone its full course, and that database would have been retired. So then the list would have been verified. You would have persons there who would have been verified from the house-to-house. Now, so you would have had an updated list, so there would have been no cause to go to do further verification.
Approximately 370,000 persons were registered during the house-to-house registration exercise. After cross-matching of fingerprints, There were 150,000 matches in the first tranche. The Commission is awaiting the results of the second tranche. While this much has been sorted thus far, the Commission is still considering how it will incorporate the house-to-house data into the National Register of Registrants.
Trinidad's ruling People's National Movement, PNM, has condemned what it describes as racist comments made by the president of the Public Service Association, Watson Duke. At a conference on Monday, Duke urged all public servants who have yet to receive a pay increase since 2003 to not vote for the PNM in the upcoming local government elections. But the PNM took exception to this statement from Duke.
If you feel to yourself, our vote does not matter. If you do not speak to this issue between now and December, I'm asking all niggers, all black people like myself, and watch me good, me well black, not to support the PNM. Don't do it.
Police scientist in Barbados, Peter Wickham, says he sees no need for a referendum to determine whether marijuana should be decriminalized.
I do not believe the issues of fundamental rights, like religious freedoms and so on, should be settled by any referendum. And I take that the Prime Minister at the time took a position that, look, she did not believe that 30 people sitting in a room have a right to decide anything. And I understand that you have to be careful with that. But I'm sorry, I fundamentally disagree that this is a referendum issue. There are other things that are referendum issues that shouldn't be referendum issues either. Because we cannot allow the majority of people who are vastly uninformed on these kinds of issues to make a decision in the interest of everyone else. That's the reason that Brexit is in the position that they are in now, the United Kingdom. Because you ask a set of people who know nothing about the European Union, who don't understand the phenomena, to pass judgment on something which will impact on an entire nation. So that's my position on referendum. I really do believe that the government needs to sit down and think long and hard about this issue. I think that they're taking far too cautious an approach, and they need to liberalize the thing, they need to free it up. And I think we need to stop all of this needless talking on an issue, and we just need to act and do something.
Wickham says that new research has shown a shift in public opinion on the use of some quantities of marijuana.
In 2008, we found that there was 73% adherence to the status quo, where 73% of Barbadians believed that the marijuana should remain illegal. In 2014, which was the last time we did a study, on behalf of the government of Barbados, we found a situation where 37% of Barbadians were supporting the status quo. And we had a full 45% of Barbadians saying, look, something has to be done, either fully decriminalized or partially decriminalized. So that 21% shift in opinion in relation to that time. And moreover, the fact that only 37% of Barbadians are supporting the status quo means now it is a minority of people that believe that this current criminal position ought to be maintained. Now that was 2014, this is 2019. So much has happened since then. And as I have studied this issue, and I have, across the region, what I have found is that on every single occasion that we do a survey, the support for decriminalization increases. Every single time. More people are supporting the decriminalization because more people are realizing that this villain that we have created in Grange is not a villain. It is not the need for all of this criminal enterprise that it has become. It can all be avoided if we just take a more liberal approach to the use of the drug.
In sports, we begin with athletics, as there is uncertainty among many of the nation's athletes following the removal of 4 events from the 2020 IAAF Diamond League calendar. The IAAF has decided to remove the triple jump, discus, 3,000 meters steeplechase and 200 meters from next year's Diamond League calendar, and athletes have started to speak out. 2 of Jamaica's medalists from the most recent World Championships in Doha have seen their events cut from the program. Frederick Dakers, the World Championships silver medalist from Doha, says the decision to exclude his pet event discus throw came as a surprise, especially because of how high the level of performances have risen over the last 2 seasons. Another World Championships silver medalist, Shanika Ricketts, has also seen her event, the triple jump, cut from the program. And over to cricket. West Indies wicket-keeper batsman Shai says consistency was a key factor in the regional side sweep of the one-day international series against Afghanistan. Hope struck a ton to roll over the Afghanistans on Monday by 5 wickets to secure the whitewash.
Consistency. I think we were more consistent in all 3 parts of the game. I think it was the first time in quite a while that I could Bowlers did pretty well throughout the series. They limited the team to good enough scores that we can chase as batters. So it's nice to see that everyone came and raised their hand in whatever game it was. The feeling was good. It's nice to see a nice, young, vibrant team running around the field, diving, stopping balls, and putting their heart up for West Indies cricket. So it's very nice to see, and hopefully the batters can continue to be consistent and win more games for the team.
And that's the news on PBCJ. Do continue watching PBCJ because we are the people's station.